Hi everyone. Here we go. Give everyone a minute to tune in. Everybody's tuning. I think everybody's been watching the award show tonight and seeing who's won. I haven't seen the results, so don't spoil them. Okay. All right. Tonight we've got Karen Craigie joining us. I'm going to switch across to her screen now. Hi, Karen. How are you?
How you going, Danny? Great to be with you tonight.
Fantastic. I think we just might give people a few minutes just to tune in. Dave's just tuned in, so people are starting to come online now, so we know everything's working. Oh dear. All right. Dave is in the house. Wonderful. Hi, Dave. How you going? All right. Karen, welcome. I don't know what people know about your career, so I was hoping tonight we could start from the very beginning, where you started and what made you go down the path that you're going down with your music. Hi, Rod. How you going?
Yeah, I'd love to talk about that. And hi, Dave, and hi, Rod, while you're here. Nice to have you. Thank you for tuning in. So I have been working in the music industry for a few years when I started to, I suppose, take steps towards becoming an artist. But essentially, I've been writing songs for a really long time now, quite a few decades actually, all since I was a schoolgirl, and really wanted to do something with music. Wanted to do a lot of different things as well. So I was trying to find a path into trying to, balance out everything and do the different things that I love. So I started working in the music industry because I have a passion for music, and one of the things that you would discover, Danny, and anyone who really works in the music industry, is that there's an awful lot of people who are artists and also find a place in the music industry through employment. So whether they're, a band manager, or whether they're booking artists, whether they're a publicist or running a record label, or doing, a show like you or a radio show. So I knew that it was really possible to have sort of both paths. I worked for an independent record label called Laughing Outlaw Records, and I was there for about 5 years. So that was an alternative country and a power pop record label, and they had some really fantastic artists like Jason Walker and Jenny Queen, and a band called Starkey that were quite popular about 10 years ago. And it was a really great place to learn all about artists and making music. And that was really when I suppose I figured out I could actually make a record and put it out myself. Like I knew exactly what to do. I had all the publicity contacts. I was the publicist for the record label. I kind of knew what needed to happen to get the songs from out of my head and onto a CD, because, back then there was no Facebook or anything like this. There was no Spotify, no YouTube, so it was all hard copy CDs. And so I started to dabble in actual songs to present to a studio. And I recorded my first set of demos with a really fantastic guy called David Grinley, who used to run a studio in Sydney called Soundbox. And so I recorded some demos with him, eventually recorded an album at that studio, and that was really my first foray into music. And I was just in the right place at the right time, and because I had a lot of connections in relation to the music industry, to publicity contacts, and there was a lot of new platforms starting up. There was a lot of new opportunities for artists to play songs in, for example, video games, which was something that you kind of hadn't done way in the past. But at the time I was putting my first record out under a different name, these sorts of opportunities were becoming available. So that's kind of how I started with that. And all the while, I was working with some great bands. I got to go on tour a lot. I got to meet some fantastic people. And it was really when I started to love country music and love alternative country music artists like Ryan Adams and Nico Case, Jason Greenberger, and a whole lot of really fantastic obscure artists. And just kept, I kept writing songs over over time, I signed some really good contracts for licensing opportunities. I did a little bit of publishing, bits and pieces. I was connected through a couple of publishers with some other artists that, like me, were reasonably unknown but needed songwriters. They were very talented musicians. They needed someone to, to help. Stop me if I'm just babbling and we need to. you want to throw
You're answering all my questions. I don't need to.
I'll just keep talking otherwise. And so look, I continued with that, and over the years, I released another record, and I left the music industry in terms of working in the music industry to go overseas, do something else, and I ended up finding my way back to the music industry overseas and booking some really fantastic bands at a venue that I was managing in the UK, in Scotland. And then, over time I came back to Australia and kept writing music. And then about 5 years ago thought that I would, put this great love of country music to the test and see if I could make a country record. And that's kind of what's led me to where we are right today. That is the story of how I got to here in a very abridged version.
It's wow. You've gone about it very differently. You've really come into music from a different angle to what anyone that we usually have on the show tonight, actually. It's a really good way for people to see. But I think what I find really interesting is you've actually gone down the path that you've helped artists, you've shown artists what to do, and you've learnt from
exactly.
there. Yeah, I think that's really fantastic.
Yeah, look, it's definitely been one of those experiences where you have to absorb what's around you. And I was very lucky to work with it also. I had a really great music industry veteran as my first boss in the music industry, a guy called Stuart Coop. You may have heard of him. He ran the record label. He used to manage Paul Kelly. He's a fantastic author, and he's done a whole bunch of things over a very long career. And he's from Tassie. He's from Launceston, so he's one of your own, Danni. And he was excellent to learn really everything from. And so, it was then useful to be able to impart that knowledge to other people. But also, as we were talking about just before we went live, it's working in an environment like that where everyone was really an independent artist. But they all had these other fantastic jobs. There were authors of books. There were people running businesses. There were people also working in the music industry. And so I kind of just got to see, well, you can do this and that, and also that and this. And so it was really useful to, to pass that on to other people as well, that you can maintain a career in something other than music if you wish, and be able to still have a hand in, in a non-traditional way in being a part of the industry. So, I've never really played a great deal of music live. Songwriting is my thing, and I've always I'm a songwriter. I've never really thought of myself as an artist. Only occasionally when I want to put a record out do I become an artist. Otherwise, I'm a songwriter. And a lot of songwriters are behind the scenes, and that kind of has worked well for me.
I guess that comes down to you've had your songs recorded by a lot of different artists and in a lot of different places. You've had music recorded overseas, from what I can gather.
Yeah.
How do you go about that? It must be hard getting someone else to record your song. Do you find that? Yeah, that must be difficult, letting someone record.
There's probably two different avenues there that are two separate things. The way that I've had other artists record my songs is because I've had really good relationships with some excellent producers who have then had other people in their studio, whether they're a songwriter or an artist, and they've come across a writer's block, or they just don't even know where to start to write a song. And so I've been able to connect with people that way in terms of getting them to write songs very early on. So more than a decade ago, a few years after I put out my first album, I had a publishing deal, and one of the opportunities that I had then was to write with other people as well. So that's kind of how that has come about, and I'd love to be able to reel off a whole list of very famous, well-known artists that I've written songs for, but that's just not, that's not the reality. The truth is I've been able to do a lot of work with reasonably unknown artists, and that's as good a way to continue a career and to make some money from the music as any, because the song goes, it goes on the radio. It doesn't matter if it's someone very famous or someone not very famous, you still get a royalty for that. The second piece, which mainly relates to the overseas stuff, is more about the licensing opportunities that I had for my own songs and for some of the songs that I'd co-written or written. And that happened, to be honest, that was very, very early on. I signed with an outfit. It was called Pump Audio at the time, and it's now owned by Getty Images, which is sort of one of the big stockpilers of imagery and sound around the world, and they place things all over the place. And so that single opportunity led to a whole range of other things in terms of getting placed in film and TV. And one of the great ways that I, always mention to people is you don't notice how much music you hear when you're shopping, when you're wandering around a shopping mall or at an airport or like, a doctor's surgery or anywhere. And there's a huge opportunity to get your songs placed in that sort of in-store radio play. There's quite a lot of providers out there, and I've found a few of them, and I've worked with a number of them over 10 years now. And that is a steady way to get your music out and continue to get heard and to bring some ongoing royalties in. You've just got to find opportunities. But these days there's so many outlets, there's all the online stuff. There's all the gaming piece, and there's the traditional outlets like radio and things. And to me, I've never considered live music as an outlet for me because I'm not a musician first and foremost. So there are lots of other ways to make that happen.
It's very good, because I know a lot of people that want to do music, they don't, because they think they have to be on the road, they think they have to be out there. So it's a really good way for people to see that you're at home, you've got your family at home, you've got your own business, you're running completely separate to work, and you've still got time to have a musical career, which is just fantastic.
Yeah, look, it is interesting, and I'll just mention I was at the ABC a couple of weeks ago, and I bumped into Fanny Lumsden, and she was there with her newborn baby. Like, her baby is a few months old, and I honestly, it just made me realise how challenging it is to do that sort of stuff. And she makes it look easy, but when you have a child, as I do, and she's lucky because her partner is her musical collaborator, and they can go out on the road in their gorgeous little caravan and play live, and it's the dream. But most of us don't have the ability to do that. We don't have a musical partner or a musical baby or anything like that. So yeah, it's definitely something that the rest of us, there is another pathway for sure. We don't all need to be like Fanny, although it's great that she can do that.
It is great, but you're right, it's not something that everyone can do. So this is a really good pathway for those that are watching that want to go into music. They can just look at different ways and have a think about what they're doing. I know there are a few listeners at the moment actually that are starting careers and wanting to go down those sorts of paths, so it's really good for them to have a bit of a think and go from a different angle. Speaking of your child, I know that you co-wrote one of the songs on your latest album with your
absolutely, with my little boy James, who actually just had his 11th birthday this week. So he's not so little anymore. He's nearly eye to eye with me now. So yeah, look, he's a creative kid. He's a guitarist. He's a better musician than I am. And I was writing some lyrics to one of the songs, and I'd been just toying with the melody. And he just came up and said, "Listen, Mum, you've already said that line, and how about you sing this line?" And I was like, "Oh, that works really well." So we threw that in, and then I kind of, had some different ideas, and I just went with it, and it worked really nicely. yeah, so that song was Bottom Line, and it is a really fun, like it's a fun track. It's quite an upbeat, an upbeat tune, and it's really nice to be able to have had that experience and to talk to him and say, look, there's our song, it's on the radio, and there's our song, and someone's mentioned it in this review, and look, you did that. So it's fantastic, and it's a sweet thing. It's a really nice thing to have been able to have that experience.
That is wonderful, actually, and I know Dave is still watching, and if you're watching, maybe tomorrow we could play Bottom Line on the radio station. If you could maybe pop a time and something in the comments, maybe we could set that up. Let me know, and we can maybe email it through to you if you haven't got it. We can pop that on tomorrow, and then he'll be able to tune in and have a listen. I think he's still there. Now, we have got a few comments here. I've just got to scroll back down. That's the problem with this screen. We can't see all the comments. So everyone, I know you're there, but I can't see them all. We've got Dave. He said he's doing really well. We've got Rod Cook. He's here. Robert is saying hi, Danny. Hi, Karen. And hi, Dave.
Hello.
Murray's saying hi. Selena Sel is here. Hope you cleaned up that mess earlier tonight, Sel. And I can see there are some other people, but we can't see who they are because they haven't actually commented. So anybody has any questions, feel free to pop that in the comments and we'll have a little look if I can get back to the comments. That is.
Technology is not our friend sometimes, is it, Danny?
Not really. No.
Navigate.
We're not used to technology. We like CDs. We like that sort of.
No, you've got to get with it now. There's no excuse.
I like to read the CD. Those that used to have the CDs, when I remember as a kid, I used to read it cover to cover. And actually, I still do read it cover to cover. I want to know everything about the album. I want to read the lyrics. I want to know who recorded in the song. I'm sure there's some people out there that do that, surely.
Okay, so I'm going to take this opportunity to even go one step further and use this as a time to mention Buttercup Records Australia, who is the fantastic record label that's put my album out this time, because not only have I got things online and on CD, but they, bless them, they made a vinyl. It's absolutely awesome. It's limited edition, hand numbered. So I don't know if you can see the number. This one is number 32.
And they can have a bit more of a look there. Now they can see better.
Okay, so that's it there. But the really cool thing that I love about this is that it's not only in the old school black, it's also in white. Isn't that awesome? So if you, and it comes with, because we were just talking about the lyric sheet, look, there's a pretty picture of me, pretty because it's a cartoon, and lyrics. And it also comes with a download card. So when you get the vinyl from Buttercup Records Australia, it's hand numbered, limited edition, black or white. It has a lyric sheet. It has a download card, so you can stream it as well. And I'm so super happy because I never actually imagined that I'd have my own vinyl, but now I do. So it's really cool. So CDs are great, but this sounds, I've never heard myself on vinyl until this record, and it's fantastic. Even I sound good. So it's an awesome medium, and really happy about that.
Where can people get your album? Can they get it on your website?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can visit my website, which is karencraigie.com. And there's 3 different mediums at the moment. You just saw the vinyl, which you can buy directly from Buttercup Records Australia or from my store. You can buy CD as well. Again, links on the store on my website, or iTunes, just old school iTunes, because it is old school now. It's been quite some years. So, yeah, those are the 3 methods, and lots of streaming available as well.
You mentioned your other albums. Are they still available anywhere? You mentioned that
you can absolutely get those, but they're not in my name. And Danny, I'm not going to tell you what name they're in because that's my secret. I actually don't really like my first record, so I'm quite happy for it to be just out there and, no one's thinking too much about it. But, yeah, look, it is still there, and I do still get some royalties from those records, and every now and then I can see that someone's buying them, so that's the main thing, yeah.
Yeah, wonderful. That's fantastic. So what's next? What are you going to do? Some more recording, some more writing? Are you going to do another album? Is that your plan, or?
Yeah, so technically this current album was just out on the 30th of November. So I've been putting some songs out to radio for a few months now, but officially things were only released, roughly 10, 11 days ago. So I want to give this record the attention that it deserves, because it took me quite some time to get to this point, and it's a big effort to put a record out in the context of all the other things that I've been up to. So I'm hoping over the next sort of 6 months or so, just to focus on getting a couple of other songs out to radio, focusing on some of the great media that's coming through, which I'm very, very grateful for, and opportunities like this I'm very grateful for. I had thought that I wouldn't write any more songs anytime soon. I tend to go in fits and bursts, but then in the last couple of days I've had 2 new songs in my head which I really like, and a cover that I'd love to do. So never say never, but at the moment and for the foreseeable future, it's good old Mountains of Gold, the record. So that's what I'm focusing on for now.
Wonderful record. I hope everyone jumps online and orders some. Have we got any more questions? Dave has just popped on there. He sounds like a plan. So I'm sure Dave will, when he organises it, let us know when it's going to run, and maybe we can run it a few times over the day tomorrow and people can have a listen.
Sounds good.
I'm trying to have a little bit of a look. Selena's just she's watering her garden at the moment.
Oh, lovely, Selena. You've got to keep the gardens growing. That's true.
I'm wondering if the kids are helping, Sal. Murray, he's put some Christmas emojis up, so I'd say that's a Merry Christmas from Murray.
Oh, that's very nice. It's my favourite time of year. I absolutely love Christmas.
Are you all ready for Christmas?
So I'm one of those people who has had my Christmas presents wrapped in my spare room since September. The tree, the decorations. I don't know if you can see behind here, but there's some, crappy gold sort of tinsel-y stuff around my banister. So yes, I'm a Christmas person. I'm totally ready. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to having a week or so off when Christmas comes.
I have a question here. Besides singing and songwriting, what's your favourite pastime or self-care methods? That's a good one.
Self-care, that sounds like something that I'd talk about in one of the workshops that I run for my actual day job. So self-care for me is very mind-numbing, doing the exact opposite of what I should be doing, and using multiple screens. So like sitting in front of the television, but also having my phone and trying to read articles on the New York Times while watching, something ridiculous, and just letting my brain switch off. I love podcasts. So I listen to heaps of podcasts when I should be sleeping. And that's probably, I think, the thing that the technology then is really my method for self-care at the moment. Not too good, but it's, I just find it really informative. I don't have a lot of time to read or as much as I'd like, but podcasts in the wee hours, you don't need a light on, you can just listen, and I find that really relaxing.
Fantastic. What else have we got? And probably, actually, we haven't really mentioned your day job and what you have also got running each day. We were talking a little bit about that earlier before we went live, so something that might be interesting. I know Selena would find that quite interesting. That's something along the lines of what she has done in the past. So tell us a little bit.
When I came back from living overseas, I started to work for a not-for-profit organisation and doing their publicity, and I really enjoyed it. And then I had my son, and I thought I needed to start, as I say, I needed to start working with my heart a bit more and doing things where I felt like I could make a contribution. So I started working in the child protection field, and I ran a child protection agency for about 6 years. And then I just really came to the realisation that I could totally run a charity myself. And so I started a charity about 5 years ago, Prosper Project Australia. And we're going 5 years later, and it's a fantastic way for me to to do work that's very meaningful to me. So we work with disadvantaged children and families. We do a lot of welfare work, parent programs, support groups. We run training for foster carers. We work with parents who've had their children removed into foster care, and lots of welfare-focused work, supporting people in financial hardship with material assistance, particularly asylum seekers and women and children leaving domestic violence, community development and some other bits and pieces like that. And it's a really nice balance. I think I'd really struggle to do that sort of work without having a creative outlet, and at the same time, if I didn't have a business head, I don't know if I could have sustained songwriting in the music industry on the side for as long as I have. So it balances out really nicely, and I enjoy the work.
That's fantastic. That is wonderful. I have a message here from Dave. He said if you could drop him a download link to the Rock and Radio email, which you can actually get later on when we finish. I'll email that through. Sky Billman has said, can you share some more info for the link on your charity? Can you pop some more information on later when we finish? We'll have to do that when we finish the live feed, but we can pop that onto the link when we're done, or even onto the Oz Country page later on. And if everyone wants to, they can actually go and like Karen's page as well on Facebook and follow her on Facebook. That way too, you have I'll share that on the Oz Country page, which I think it has been shared in the past, but we'll share it again.
Yep, that'd be great. On Facebook as well, and on the web. So just Prosper Project Australia, 3 separate words. You should be able to find it if you Google it. But I can put some information up for sure.
That would be great. Excellent. Are the kids in bed, Sky? They've made some comments there in the past looking for the kids. So hi to the kids if they are there. What else have we got? I think we've gone through all the questions and said hello to everybody that's there. The comments are coming up and going, they scroll past very quickly between people writing them, so I can't actually see them all. So if I've missed anybody, please type them in again, or we'll address them later on. Otherwise, if nobody has any more questions, we might let Karen go and get a dog out of the bedroom. He's done well. He hasn't made any noise.
Yes.
Selena has made a comment. So much love. Love this. She's a youth worker, and she's owning her own surf brand as Wave Women and Wave Kids. Linking your passions to help mothers make a change is incredible. And Sky has written.
I'll look that up. That's marvelous.
Yeah, Selena's obviously very, very busy, and Sky sounds like you have a massive heart.
I try to. I can always, we can always do better, but yeah, definitely got to try. That's the main thing.
All right. Is there any other questions before we go, guys? I know that Oz Country's had a lot of live in the last few days, and a lot of you are probably wanting to also find out the finish of the results for the awards that most of you were just watching, because I did see you all on there. If there's nothing else, we will let you all go. I don't think anybody's popping anything up.
That's great. Thank you so much, everyone, for being a part of it. And Danni, thank you. It's really fantastic to have an opportunity to talk.
Wonderful. Thank you. We will be in touch. I will talk to you through the week, and we'll get all the details across. Perfect. And we'll pop them all up on our page for you.
That sounds great. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Have a great Christmas. And next week, guys, we've got Josh Setterfield coming to say hi. So make sure you tune back in next week at 8 o'clock. See you later.
Okay, bye.
Oh, didn't realise that would end. Hasn't ended. Doesn't want to end. Just do that.